I am so honored and thrilled today to have my friend, Barbara Huson, previously known as Barbara Stanny, on the podcast. Barbara is the leading authority on women, wealth, and power. As a best-selling author, financial therapist, teacher, and wealth coach, Barbara has helped millions take charge of their finances and their lives. Barbara's background in business, her years as a journalist, her master's degree in counseling psychology, her extensive research, and her personal experience with money give her a unique perspective and make her the foremost expert on empowering women to live up to their financial and personal potential. Barbara has been featured on Good Morning America, The View, Extra, The O'Reilly Report, and many times on CNN, MSNBC, CNBC, Fox News, PBS, and NPR, as well, of course, as the New York Times and USA Today. Barbara is the author of 7 extraordinary books. She wrote Prince Charming Isn't Coming, The Secrets of Six-Figure Women, Overcoming Under-Earning, Finding a Financial Advisor You Can Trust, Breaking Through, Sacred Success, and her most recent, deeply helpful book called Rewire for Wealth. Barbara, I became introduced to your work when I read Overcoming Under-Earning, and I can recall I have a visceral memory of standing on a subway platform reading that book and thinking, this book is life-changing.
Wow. Wow.
It shifted everything for me, your personal stories, your experience. So I'm so honored for you to be here. And I'm so excited for the audience that they get to learn from you because you are so wise and you are a wonderful gatherer of information. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. You just made my day. Thank you.
It's very easy, really. It had such an impact on me. So whenever I start the podcast, Barbara, I ask people the same question, which is, what's the one word you would use to describe your divorce experience? And we can share with the audience, you've had 2 divorces, so you can share the same word or a different word for each.
It's 2 words, and they really go together. It's terrifying and liberating. And the terrifying came first. And as long as I let myself keep going towards the tear, I found the liberation.
Oh, beautiful. Can you talk a little bit more about what you mean by going into the terror to find the liberation?
Yes. So I was married to my first husband for 15 years. And he was
I think I lost you for a second.
And I let him manage the money.
Sorry, I lost you for a second. That was my mistake. So we'll have to sorry, it's my connection is unstable. I'm so sorry. So I heard you say you were married to your first husband for 15 years. Yes.
Yeah. So I was married to my husband for 15 years. I found out very early in our marriage that he was a compulsive gambler, gambling away my money, my inheritance. And I continued to let him manage it because not only was I terrified of anything financial, but I was terrified even more to rock the boat. It's like, and I knew our marriage wasn't working. And I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave because I was terrified. I didn't think I could do it on my own. And I didn't want to leave what I called the package, having a husband and 3 children and roasting marshmallows over the fire, making
yes, right.
And it was just all those things I didn't want to leave. And finally, the only reason I left is because he became physically abusive. So it was terrifying to leave. But and I really wanted to get back with him. I mean, even after he became abusive, I was ready to get back. And I remember saying to my lawyer, nice Jewish girls don't get divorced.
Yeah.
And she gave me the divorce papers and she says, no, you're signing them. And it was terrifying to have to make it on my own, to have to start looking at finances on my own. But it was liberating. It was liberating because in that process, I found the self that I had lost, that had been buried under all these old limiting beliefs, that I couldn't make it on my own, that I needed a man to take care of me. And as I got stronger, I found a whole new career. And that was empowering women financially. As I got smart and took my life back and started understanding finances, and I writing my first book, Prince Charming Isn't Coming, How Women Get Smart About Money, suddenly I had this whole new career. So it was profoundly liberating and terrifying.
And terrifying. I'm so glad you're bringing that up. I often talk about this in my online program and in my book as the golden and, being able to have two feelings at one time. And right. And I think that it's so important for us to allow, just like you said, the picture of the marshmallows, like we have this false sense that we're supposed to feel one thing or the other when we're getting divorced, grateful and a relief or miserable. And the truth is, it's usually a combination, just like relationships are so much more complicated than just good or bad. And I'm wondering, Barbara, I'm so grateful that you shared about really trying to stick it out, because I did that too in the worst of situations. And I'm just wondering, were there quiet moments where you thought, oh, girl, we can't stick this out anymore, but like kind of overrode that? Like, do you remember that at all?
Every day, every single freaking day.
Yeah.
There was a little voice in my head that said, this feels awful. This is miserable. Mm-hmm. You are putting yourself and your children at risk financially. Mm-hmm. And every single time I pushed that voice away and I went in denial. And it was finally one day when I went to the ATM and it said, sorry, no money. And I kept putting my card in and it kept saying, sorry, no money. That was the moment I came out of denial. And I believe that coming out of denial is one of life's most painful experiences, because all that you've been trying to hold down suddenly shoots up, and you have to face it. You have to face it, yes, that this isn't working and you're going to die. I was going to literally die if I stayed in that situation.
Yeah, I have a very similar situation with being married to someone who struggled with alcohol, and that moment of, oh my goodness, like coming out of the denial is so excruciatingly painful. And I found it also, Barbara, I wonder if you had this experience, really lonely, because all the people around me were like, finally, you're not in denial anymore. But I was like a baby in this new sense of awareness. And I felt really alone with that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember I had many, many nights and mornings curled up on the floor in a fetal position. But see, nobody knew I was unhappy. Nobody. I never told anybody. I never talked about it. I was in psychoanalysis 3 times a week. My therapist, I never told.
Wow.
I never talked to him because I was so ashamed. Yeah. I was so ashamed that my marriage wasn't working, that my husband kept losing my money, that he was gambling my money away, that I couldn't stop him. There was so much shame associated with it. Yeah. So yes, I felt lonely, and but yeah, I felt very lonely, and I felt very, and it was afterwards when I started reaching out for support from therapy and started telling the truth that it changed. I don't think we should go through a divorce by ourselves. It's people like you who, I found someone similar to you, not probably as good as you, but similar to you.
Thank you.
Who really helped me, and surrounding myself with support. Yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of psychological healing did you receive? Because you were coming out of being in a relationship with an addict and not having told anyone. So what? Yeah.
Well, one of the things, I started going to 12-step programs. Mm-hmm. And that was amazing. First Al-Anon and then Codependence Anonymous. Mm-hmm. And I even checked myself into the Meadows in Arizona, which is a codependent treatment program. Yeah. Because he might have been an addict, but I was an addict too, addicted to him. And I realized that I needed to heal as much as he did. Now, it's interesting. I just talked to my daughter this morning. So I divorced in 1987. He's still gambling. He's still gambling. So, but I used it to heal, and it was the best thing that happened. The best thing that happened.
I am so impressed, Barbara, with your willingness to heal and work on yourself. The power, it's this, I just had the chills because I had this moment of, had you chosen the path of fixing him,
Oh,
he's
honey, I
still
tried.
right. You
I
tried.
tried.
And look, I mean, sometimes I'm sorry, that he's still struggling and still in his disease. And it's such proof that you cannot change anybody, that you just can't, because I'm sure between now and 1987 and now, many people have tried to change him. And so the fact that you checked yourself in, that you said, what can I do? How did I get here? That was my experience too. And sitting in 12-step rooms, that's when the change happened.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, if you're listening, it's very enticing to blame the other person because they do a lot of crappy stuff. Like, I get it.
So the other thing that happened to me is the big thing is, I was in therapy, which was really important, but I found A Course in Miracles, and it's a spiritual text, and I really turned to my spiritual growth. And in the Course of Miracles, because I was blaming my husband. I mean, come on, I was this ignorant little woman who knew nothing about money, and he took total advantage of me. And I was furious. I was victimized, felt like a victim. And the Course in Miracles had this very powerful line. And I was devastated when I read it, but it said, you are doing this unto yourself. Whatever is happening, you are doing it. And it was when I realized, I said, wait a minute, how could I be doing it? He was doing it to me. And then I realized, wait a minute, I gave him the keys to the kingdom. I let him make all the financial decisions. So I was doing it to myself because I was scared to take responsibility. Once I took that responsibility, once I said he wasn't doing it to me, I was allowing him to make all the decisions. I was doing it to me. That's when things started changing. That's when I can work in therapy and say, okay, I was doing this. This is what I need to change in me.
Wow. And you didn't just change, Barbara. You had literally a 180-degree shift. You went from knowing and not wanting to hear about the money at all to teaching people. Can you tell us about that transformation? I mean, and I want people to know, like, it's possible. I mean, I think this is the power of healing yourself after a divorce. Like, you can literally change your life 180 degrees.
I think it's the best opportunity to change your life. I mean, really, it's such an opportunity, though I didn't see it at the time as an opportunity. It was until hindsight, so I have to say.
Yes, but good point.
Yeah, so what happened is, after our divorce, I decided money's not my deal. I don't want to deal with it. It's not my thing. Well, I realize now that if you don't deal with your money will deal with you. And I got tax bills for way over $1 million, almost 2 million. For back taxes my ex didn't pay, for illegal deals he got us in. He was also a compulsive liar. And he had left the country. I didn't have $1 million, not even close to it. And my father wouldn't lend me the money. And I've since thanked my father. I've even thanked my ex-husband, whom we're now very good friends. I even thanked him, because what that did for me, it forced me, because I had 3 daughters. I was not going to raise those girls on the street. I knew I was going to get smart with money. I had to. And I would read the books, I would go to classes, and my brain would fog over and my eyes would glaze up, and I would just feel terminally stupid. But I was committed. I had those daughters. I was committed. Nothing was going to stop me. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I really believe, Elizabeth, when you make a commitment, like a no backdoor commitment, the universe revolves to help you reach your goal. And so I was a journalist at the time, and I was hired for a freelance project to interview women who were smart with money. And those interviews changed my life. I not only got smart about money, but I wrote my first book, and suddenly I had this whole new career. I was traveling all over the country doing financial education for women. It was just the damnedest thing. It was.
Well, I hear, like, once you took yourself seriously, the universe was like, that's right, Barbara, we do take you seriously. You are the real deal.
I think but even before I took myself seriously, because I really didn't. But before I did that, I was willing to go in the places that scared me most. I have a sign. I did it in crayon right here next to my office. I have, do what you fear, that's how you succeed. Because I really believe it is by whatever we fear. That is, it's like Joseph Campbell said, the cave you fear to enter is where your treasure lies. So my children who are in their 30s and 40s now, to this day, whenever they don't know what to do, or they feel stuck or confused, they always call me. They always say, Mom, what should I do? And they know what I'm going to say. I always say, what are you most scared to do? And they tell me, and I said, yeah, that's exactly what you need to do.
It's so powerful, and how lucky those kids are to have you as a mom giving them that advice. So how do you encourage yourself in those moments, Barbara, when you're facing something scary and you think, oh no, I'm not going in that cave? Are there things you tell yourself? Are there ways that you, as you talk about your book, rewire your brain so that it feels more comfortable for you to step into that fear?
Oh, it never feels comfortable. Never, ever, ever, ever has, for me, never feel comfortable. I don't wait till I'm comfortable. But yeah, I turn to God. I pray. I turn to my girlfriends. I say, I'm scared. And they say, what are you good? And then they reassure me, you can do this. You can do this. I had a spiritual teacher once who said to me, if you can't do it for you, do it for someone you love more than you. And that's what got me through, is doing it for my children. I did not want my children to grow up with me as a role model the way I was.
Yeah. And seeing you as, as this martyr, I think, that knowing that they're taking in what you are showing, and to think about how you shifted that so much. And again, I want to say to people like Barbara, we could be martyred. Like what we went through was terrible. It was shitty. It was bad. Like, it's not that your experience isn't truly painful, but it's this moment where the only person you have control over is yourself. And so if you're willing, right, to shift and look at yourself, it's so much more fruitful than the other person.
It is. You have to be willing, but I couldn't have done alone. I did a lot of workshops, spiritual groups.
Yes.
A lot of that. And that was really important. Spiritual teachers, therapists. So this is not a do-it-yourself job.
Well, one of the things I loved from your book, and I reference it in my book actually, is in Overcoming Under-Earning. You talk about the taxonomy of the different kinds of friends, the way showers, the cheerleaders, the importance of having really good support. Like it seems like you've really suggested that here, of course, but also with money. So it sounds like that's an essential part of your philosophy.
Well, I think we women are so relationship oriented. I think we thrive on support. Yeah. Like men tend to react to stress with a fight or flight. We react to stress, they have shown, with tend and befriend. That we need our peeps. We need our tribe. We need our what I call the love nest, the people around us that can say, you go girl, you can do this. I think that's really critical for us in all areas of life.
Yeah. And can you this is a question I ask everyone. I'm just curious for you. If you could go back as you are now with all your wisdom and all your knowledge, and talk to that woman, the woman who was at that ATM machine, or the woman who pushed down her feelings and went back into denial, what would you whisper in her ear?
I whisper it's going to get better. And I wouldn't tell her anymore. I wouldn't, for me, I wouldn't have changed one thing, because everything I went through, I wouldn't have done it any sooner. Just for me, looking back, whatever I went through is like what steeled me, is what gave me what I needed. Every single thing. I feel like if I had gone back and said, well, here, do this instead, it would be like trying to take the butterfly out of the chrysalis before it was ready.
Yeah.
So I would just say, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I tell you, and then in my second divorce, that was for 10 years, but that was hard too. It wasn't easier the second time around. But
Yeah.
from those 2 divorces, I
Mhm.
now have the most incredible marriage. I mean, it is like phenomenal. And it was everything I learned, all the mistakes I made from those 2 marriages that has put me in this phenomenal relationship
Ah.
now.
And don't you feel like you wouldn't have even found this person if it wasn't for those 2 marriages, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Even if I found him, I wouldn't have been attracted to him,
That's what I say too about my relationship. I say I wouldn't have even been attracted to him if I hadn't gone through it, right?
He was not my type,
Right.
but I married my type.
Exactly. You realize that, oh, something's wrong with my type.
You have to rethink this, Barbara.
Exactly. So I would be remiss to ask you about your area of expertise as we're talking about this and wrapping up about money and wealth, because, we've talked privately a lot about this and we wrote this beautiful blog together that, money becomes such a anxiety producing space for women in particular going through a divorce. And we both know people who have signed off more than they really needed to, and or kind of don't want to look at it. So I'm just wondering, as you with this audience of women going through divorce, what would you recommend to them as they're looking at their finances, as they're having feelings coming up around it? What would you say?
I'd say problems with money are never about money. There's always something under. Just like problems with money in relationships, it's never about money, it's something under. And I believe after over 25 years of being in this work, that our women's difficulties with money, making it, managing it, asking for it, has nothing to do with money and has everything to do with our fear of or ambivalence about power. That this is, you think it's about money. No, it's about, I define a powerful woman as someone who knows who she is, who knows what she wants, and expresses that in the world unapologetically. So essentially, our fear of power is our fear of becoming all of who we can be, and not watering ourselves down so we don't make waves, which is what I did in both my marriages. And it's really about discovering who you are and what you want and being able to communicate that. It's becoming a container that can attract, that can keep, and that can grow our wealth.
Amazing. So beautiful. It's so touching to think about getting right with ourselves, feeling our own power so the wealth can grow. It's just something about it's about taking, it's same thing we talked about. It's like focusing on us instead of our ex. It's like focusing on us, and then your relationship with money will flow.
Well, you have to do some things. You have to pay attention to money. I describe money, I can say it on this show because of what we're talking about, but I believe that money is the ideal lover. And that we need to have a legendary love affair with our money. Now think about it. All money wants is to serve us, to support us, and protect us for all the days of our lives. And all money wants in return is for us to appreciate and respect it by taking care of it. And if you can do that, if you can appreciate, support, respect money by taking care of it, then the two of you will live happily ever after.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
So really, it's about intimacy. It's about really, really understanding money, what it needs to grow, what it needs to thrive, and what you need from it. And it's a matter of understanding, educating yourself, and becoming partners with your money.
And your books are an amazing place to start. If anyone is listening and thinking, I don't know how to do that, Barbara has created an amazing blueprint of how people can heal from money and make a beautiful relationship with it. So you are the expert.
Thank you. And I think my latest book is Rewire for Wealth. And it's 3 steps any woman can take to program her brain for financial success. And I would suggest any woman start there. Because it started 6 years ago, I started integrating neuroscience into my work. And this really does say how you, and it's not just rewiring for wealth is not just about money, but it's about discovering who you are, who you came into this world as before you were indoctrinated and before you were programmed to be something else.
Yes.
And that's really what we're doing. It's about becoming who we're truly meant to be.
Yes. And I have to say, I think every person who's considering a divorce or going through a divorce and is dealing with financial issues, of course, must read this book, because it's reminds me of, like, with my book with mental health. It's like, if you take care of yourself in this way by reading Barbara's book, you'll be so much better prepared when you walk into your lawyer's office, your financial planner, or your mediation, or your collaboration. It is just a gift to yourself. You just spoke about needing a tribe. I believe, you were part of my tribe because your book was part of my story. So please allow Barbara to be part of your tribe too.
I love that.
It's
love that.
true. So we're going to have to finish, but is there anything left that you just want to make sure to say to the audience, knowing what they're going through? If there's anything we haven't covered, I just want to give you space and time.
I just want to repeat what I repeat in my mind all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what to do next, do what you fear. Because really on the other side of fear is where all the power, all your pleasure, where what your purpose, what you're supposed to do, it's always on the other side of fear.
Thank you so much for that wisdom. It just lands at the core of me, and it gives me hope that we are going to have a world of people leaning into the discomfort to have greater joy and passion and pleasure. That is what'll change the world. So thank you for inspiring me today and our audience. And thank you so much for being here. Can you let people know the book is Rewiring Your Brain, but can you share Rewiring for Health? Well, I keep saying that, Rewiring for Wealth. Can you share a little bit how people can find you if they want to do some of your coaching work or?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, which is Barbara-Huson, Barbara-Huson, HUSON.com. And there's just all kinds of things on there, and there's all my books and everything you need to know and coaching. And I also have a group, which is my dream. It's an online community where all we do is talk about money, educate ourselves about money as women. Which is a very different conversation than the white male establishment is having.
Oh, so valuable. I remember when I read your book thinking, oh my gosh, this has to exist. Where is this? When you recommended that and you created it. So everyone check it out. I'll have your website in the show notes. Barbara, thank you for sharing your wisdom. I'm so grateful.
Thank you.